Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Another day, another show by BW Hotelier. Welcome to the 16th show of now, not very new, the new series of BWH, the GM show. We are now back to the north with our 5th show there. And honestly, that is not enough. Coming week, we will have 2 shows away in our journey to the 4 more shows in our journey to the closure of the series with another show for the north. That will be a special on Rajasthan before we head to Goa for 2 shows, and then one last show down south, and we draw curtains. This and the next week, the GM shows will be on Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Block your date and time. The topic of this show today is Bleisure. We're still trying to give it a name, Bleisure, Bleisure, Blair, right? Blending business and leisure, big opportunity beckons. I have a very august group of general managers today, very experienced, who've spent a lot of time in the industry. Let me begin today with a brief introduction to the august ladies and gentlemen here, lady and gentlemen. Ramandeep Marwa. Ramandeep Marwa is the general manager for the JW Marriott in Chandigarh, an enterprising hotelier with over 2 decades of experience. Ramandeep has worked with leading hospitality groups like the Marriott, Taj, the Leela, Shangri-La hotels and resorts, to name a few. Ramandeep's journey with Marriott started in 2012 with JW Marriott AeroCity, New Delhi, following which he was associated with the JW Marriott brand across assets at Mumbai, Macau, Pune, and Mussoorie. Welcome to the show, Raman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khanna, for a very warm introduction. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure's ours. Now to the lady on the show, Utsa Majumdar. Utsa is the general manager at the Hyatt Regency in Dharamshala. Even before graduating from the hotel management course, Utsa landed her first role as a front desk associate for the Hyatt Regency, Kolkata. And since then, she has never looked back. In a 17-year career, Utsa has held leadership positions and worked with Hyatt hotels across multiple cities in India. After a wonderful stint as a general manager for 2 years at the Hyatt Place Rameswaram, she took over the reins at Hyatt's first mountain resort asset in India, the Hyatt Regency Dharamshala Resort, in June of 2018. Welcome to the show, Utsa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khanna. Thank you for such a warm welcome. And it's a pleasure to be part of this eminent panel. Thank you so much once again.
Next on our panel is the man from the city of the Harmandir Sahib, Amritsar. Let me introduce to you Jitendra Pal Sohal. He's the Cluster General Manager North India for the Radisson Hotel Group and also the General Manager for the Radisson Blue Hotel in Amritsar. An IHM Bhopal alumni with over 3 decades of experience in the hospitality industry, which includes operations, training, hotel openings, and projects. Jitendra began his career in F&B service with the Leela Kempinski in Mumbai and has worked with many top hospitality brands like the Regent, ITC Hotels, Starwood Hotels, and Radisson Hotel Group all across India. A leader with strong ethics, professional integrity, and astute financial acumen, a critical thinker who uses logic and reason to evaluate situations. Welcome, JP.
Thank you, Bhavesh. Thank you so much for those warm, welcoming words. It's an honor to be and be amongst some brains and probably give an opportunity for me to learn something today. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Such a pleasure. Next on the list is Anup Pandey. He is where everyone would want to have a holiday. He comes in from Mussoorie. Anup is the general manager for the JW Marriott Mussoorie Walnut Grove Resort and Spa. With over 15 years of multicultural experience and expertise in a variety of hospitality departments, from front office to F&B, rooms division, and beyond, Anup has swiftly moved up the ranks across a myriad of brands and hotels. His journey began in 2006 with the Leela, where he worked across its various properties in Mumbai, Kovalam, and Bangalore. He then moved on to be part of Starwood Hotels and Resorts, now Marriott Hotels. In 2009, his most recent role was as the general manager for the Westin Sona Resort and Spa. Welcome, Anup.
Thank you. Warm greetings to everyone from the Queen of Hills. It's indeed a pleasure to be on this show and look forward to be part of this. Thank you, Mr. Khanna.
Pleasure. Last but not the least, we have Chandrasekhar Joshi before that. He's the general manager of the Leela Palace Jaipur. I was supposed to be with him yesterday. I could not. A passionate hotelier with over 20 years of experience and a proven track record of managing both city and leisure hotels. CJ, who's the general manager of the Leela Palace Jaipur, has previously worked with the Le Méridien Pune, JW Marriott Juhu Mumbai, Renaissance Mumbai, JW Marriott Mussoorie, and the JW Marriott in Jaipur now. Before entering the Leela, CJ was the general manager of the Renaissance Bali, Uluwatu Resort and Spa. He's a pre-opening expert with some very successful hotel openings and a strong business vision. His forte lies in curating and delivering exceptional guest experience, propelled by a strong background in F&B ops and sales and marketing. Welcome, CJ.
Thank you, Mr. Khanna. Thank you for the invite. It's great to be here. We missed you last night.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Last but not the least, my friend from Delhi, not very far from my house, Shovendu Banerjee. He's the general manager of the Crown Plaza today in New Delhi, Okhla. Shovendu comes with a robust experience of more than 2 decades in the hospitality business. He's worked with brands like IHG, ITC, JP, Radisson, with an experience in commercials and operations. Shovendu played an integral role during the launch of the Crown Plaza brand in India and was a core member of the pre-opening teams of multiple hotels in India. He's won multiple accolades in international and national level for his achievements and leadership. Welcome, Shovendu.
Welcome. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, and it's been a pleasure to be here on the show. Thank you.
Pleasure is ours. All right, we have a short commercial and then we shall get started. Thank you, Think Kitchen. Good to partner with you. Let us now begin. Bleisure, blending business and leisure, a big opportunity beckons. The millennium set a new pace, and then the arrival of the new generations set in new paradigms that hadn't hit the pre-millennials like me, as in artificial intelligence, bots, blockchains, as if technology hadn't made its impact on them. And then the lockdown. A lot was crumbling. No longer was it necessary to pace up and down the office when better productivity was the case working from home. While this brought in new opportunities, as in homestays and staycations, which in many manner are also about mixing business with leisure. Call it Bleisure. Bleisure is not exactly new, just that it is now more acceptable and has percolated down the pyramid. Bleisure is a new category. Is it going to stay? Is it transitionary and a passing phase? Let us debate this today and let us dive into the session. I shall begin with JP, as I call Jitendra Pal Sohal. JP, being in the business over the years and across geographies, how have you seen plain vanilla business, travel, and leisure travel evolve to what we now start seeing to become an independent category that we call Bleisure? What are your views? Sitting in Amritsar, throw some light on this.
Thank you. Thank you, Vignesh, for the question. Before I really get about, speaking about it, let's just understand, what has happened to the business travel and the leisure travel over the years. So if we look at what exactly used to be a conventional business travel used to be the person is coming to a particular place, comes there, stays in a hotel. Either he's there to make a deal or he's there to, kind of finish up some work. And then probably the same evening, if there is a deal cracked, enjoy a bottle of champagne with those people, celebrate, and next morning, take a flight and go back. What was his requirements? The requirements was, I need good sleep, I need a good shower, I need a good quick breakfast. This is what exactly was the requirement of a corporate traveler. And when we used to look at a conventional leisure traveler, it used to be basically a planned leisure, probably a couple or a group of friends going over a weekend, or maybe, it's children's holidays and stuff like that. And you plan a vacation and you go and hop from one place to another place. That's exactly what the conventional leisure and corporate used to be. But like you rightly pointed out sometime back in the introduction, that on the onset of COVID, when the pandemic came in, I think a lot of realizations started coming that you don't really have to be in the four walls in an office to be productive. And that's where the whole marriage between the business and the leisure started happening, when people got the realization of what exactly can be done. And like rightly, it is the millennials who have understood this better than anybody. They are the ones who are actually driving this particular segment. Now, what is it that, why is it important? Because for millennials, unlike, the previous generations, work-life balance is the most important thing, So in order to have a better work-life balance, connecting business and leisure was probably the best thing to do. And yet, let's not forget that millennials are far, far smarter than, what people used to be earlier. Now, it's like, what better can be done, that you kill two birds with one stone. You not only just go and, spend time on doing your job, but you're also having leisure at the same time. And it is very experiential in nature for them. They are smart people, not only they are, we all know that there is a lot of work that we do today. And with millennials also, they're really working hard every single day. So they don't really have time to plan, kind of vacations and all. So why not marry? So that is where, and millennials like to combine things, they kind of like to come and talk about acronyms and so on and so forth. So I think not only they save on cost of an extra trip, very smart financially also. So they are kind of, either they would come, finish their work and extend for another day or two to stay, to understand, to enjoy the place. What does the place have to offer? Maybe culinary, maybe history, maybe, the gastronomic route or anything that might experience. Give them that kind of an experience. That is where the Bleisure is. And I think this segment is here to stay. And probably the hotels will have to, in the times to come, or in fact, they've already started doing it. The hotels have to be suited to their needs. So those are my 2 cents on this, Vignesh.
Tell me, JP, when you talk to your team during your morning meetings and otherwise, does Bleisure come in as a part of the discussion?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is not something that was there earlier. Like I said, if you look at the advent of this particular segment, when we saw the first wave that came in, it was not really there as a point of discussion. I think we started seeing then post the second wave and very strongly post the third wave. So it is very easy. You can spot the guy very quickly a person, and there are telltale signs. For example, I was at our hotel in Shimla the other day, and it's very easy to actually, just figure out who the Bleisure traveler is going to be. And that's what we talk to our people in the meeting. We tell them how to spot a Bleisure traveler. You would probably find the person has had his breakfast, he picked up his laptop and sat outside his balcony. Probably he's having a cup of coffee, and if it's an afternoon, it could be a mug of beer also. He's doing his calls, and probably his children are playing next to him, whether it could be a beach in Goa or it could be a mountain in location for that matter. So yes, I think what is important as of now, we are just trying to tell our people how to identify these people. And then accordingly, of course, personalization is the second part, but that is something which is very important to these millennials also.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let me now circle into Delhi and get to Shubhendu.
Yeah.
Shubhendu, you run a hotel in the business district, so to say, Okhla. Is Bleisure travel a growing market, or is this a short-term phenomena? What are the advantages? And if I may also ask, if yes, then can there be a concerted and actionable plan to develop the stream and take it to its so-called logical realization?
Thank you so much for the question, Bhuvnesh. As Jitendra was just mentioning, that this segment, which we have now realized during the pandemic, traditionally the business hotels like Crown Plaza, Okhla, we always used to have business travelers, inbound travelers, MICE events happening in the hotel. But of late, during the COVID period, we have seen the business travelers coming in and then extending their stay for leisure travels. In and around Delhi NCR, we have obviously observed the kind of occupancy Delhi is doing is primarily because of the domestic business travelers coming and then extending their stay for the weekends. So that is one thing which in my hotel also, we are primarily a business hotel, but definitely on the weekends, starting from the shoulder period to Thursday to Sunday, we have seen that there are business travelers, those who come, they stay their weekend in the hotel, they enjoy with their family, we have leisure activities in the hotel, and we have adapted to the new changes because it's most of the business travelers, they need some kind of a leisure activity, whether it's a spa or the gymnasium or the yoga or some kind of sightseeing. So that's the kind of adaptation we have done in the hotel because that's something which is going to stay. And for my hotel, we are around 20 to 25% of business travelers we do every month. So business plus leisure is something which we see as an opportunity and which will remain as a primary segment moving forward for next couple of years, because till the time the inbound starts, this definitely is going to be a bread and butter for a lot of us.
So tell me, even a hotel, I can understand a Mussoorie or a Amritsar or a Chandigarh or a Dharamshala or a Jaipur for that matter. Tell me, even in the business district, do guests come in on with families for a Bleisure kind of a login?
Yes, so as I mentioned, we have been observing business within Delhi NCR, people coming in from nearby cities as well, like for example in Agra or a Jaipur or a Meerut, these kind of business travelers, those who come into Delhi for work and then they stay over the weekends. It's not only people within Delhi NCR, but people in and around. They come in and they stay in the hotels. And then as we are situated in the business district of South Delhi, we have in and around a lot of leisure activities which we can plan. So for example, a Lotus Temple for that matter, or Karni Singh Shooting Stadium. So we have those kind of tie-ups in case if they want to go out of the hotel or within the premises. Within the hotel, we have curated certain experiences for the guests, which definitely helps them to stay in the hotel and enjoy and relax on the weekends.
Or the shopping district.
Or the shopping district, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Shubhendu. Let me now just shoot back to the hills, Mussoorie, to Anup. Anup, you're very new there, but barely a few months, but you have a hands around the asset we kept speaking and the catchment. Tell me, are cases of Bleisure more formal or informal where the family tags along? Or do clients make formal plans in advance, discuss with you or with your team, and they plan an itinerary for their stay?
Perfect.
Give us a sense of their planning and behavior, or how they handle a situation. And when I say informal and formal, one is keeping the company informed, the other one is just tagging along.
Absolutely. No, no, thank you for this. I will just build on from where JP and Shuvendu left. This Bleisure as a segment, as we all agree, it is probably at a nascent stage, and very unique proposition which has presented itself in a current scenario wherein we are seeing the millennials driving this. Work from home is something which, because of pandemic, a lot of resorts have come up with a package wherein they are trying to lure these travelers to a destination where they can take their business, right? Sitting here in Missouri, I can only share with you a few examples. We had this package when pandemic shook all of us, called Himalayan Workplace. And the entire hint was, luring guests towards coming to a leisure destination and how we can marry or create a successful concoction out of it, what JP was sharing. So to the question, whether it is a more formal or an informal where family tags in, I feel, and what we are seeing more and more is it is now becoming a very formal affair wherein, a guest would like to reach out to us in advance, or vice versa. As a hotel, we would like to reach out to guests and understand their requirement, and more and more millennials, they would like to experience more experiences around the resort. So what we are doing is curating more customized experiences for them, wherein definitely as a segment we need to understand that it cannot be very heavy on leisure. When we say curating experiences, it needs to be done keeping in mind their working patterns as well, because we cannot disrupt the working pattern. And what we see right now as an industry, I feel that this is probably a eureka movement where most hotels will start capitalizing. So yes, it is becoming more formal, and a family tagging along is more of a passe now. And I think it's becoming a more formal affair of people curating these experiences well in advance.
So tell me, you're typically in a hill station, and your asset is also away from the town, right? But you have a complete ecosystem in your asset. I think you're about 7 acres, right?
Correct.
You have a
Yes.
lot to offer to the client, but they can't get out, right? So whatever little they do within the property.
Yes. So just to share, Mr. Khanna, the good part is as a resort, and I'm happy to see, two ex-GMs on the panel, both CJ and Raman being, and a lot of credit, as an ecosystem, as you mentioned, JW Marriott Missouri could able to create this as a community, both within the resort and outside. So, experiences are not limited for this resort within the premises, while we have a lot of options across the age groups in the resort. But we are successfully able to curate few experiences outside. And as experiences new luxury, and especially millennials, they look for that. We are able to get that and blend it in a way that we have enough options for all age groups as whatever excites them.
Excellent. Thank you, Anup. Let me move into CJ, who's also worked in this asset, right? He's headed the property. CJ sits comfortably in Jaipur now, of course. Another great location. Rajasthan is any traveler's bucket list. CJ, tell me the duration of stay.
Before I come to duration of stay, a couple of comments. I think that with the advent of technology over the last decade and a half, the lines were thinning between business and leisure, work and play. People were doing all things at all points of time. And this segment started to grow out of business travel, staying a night or two into destinations and exploring it and bringing their family along. What the pandemic has done, it's reversed it. It's people on leisure who are working from these places as well. So maybe we'll have to term it leisure business or something like that instead of business leisure, so to speak. So those technology has played a big part, and the pandemic has fast-tracked this change and this development of the segment. Of course, in our market, we've seen the length of stay improve. Not only in our market, when I'm talking to colleagues around the fraternity, they also mention that the general length of stay, and this is I'm talking about because we can't compare an inbound segment right now where I'm talking purely domestic. The length of stay in Jaipur was 2 nights, and we've seen it moving to 3 nights. The ticket size or the average spend is also increasing because the rooms are on multiple occupancy. There is larger F&B spend. There is also an apprehension of moving out of the hotel. People still want to be in the confines of the hotel, having hotels, pandemic plan program and planning into place as well. So we've seen across meal periods in restaurants, the F&B spends, the spa spends have increased. So broadly on an F&B, I think about 30% increase on spend. On other operating departments, about 15-20% increase in spend. So overall, the spend per room has grown, including the length of stays.
So which is exactly what my question was going to be. So tell me, what kind of a shift have you seen in the jump in the ticket size?
So as I was mentioning,
and how does it impact your overall revenue?
So it's always more profitable to have a longer length of stay in terms of processing the reservation, in terms of making the rooms.
Yeah, it is, but has the length actually increased?
So the length, what we're seeing across market is the length of stays increased from 2 nights to 3 nights for domestic Indian customers. So that's one. And the ticket size or the size of spend on that leisure group has increased about 70%, 50% of that coming from the length of stay, another 25% coming from other services in the hotel.
So tell me, would you also know who picks up the tab, the guest himself or her, or by themselves, or do they pass it on to their company?
So currently, it's the guests are picking up their personal tabs. With the pandemic coming in, with the technology being in place, people could work everywhere. Kids could go to school being anywhere around the country. So it is mostly people on leisure trips who are continuing to work from hotels while the family, and we've had instances when the husband, they want separate spaces so that they can do calls like these while at work. The kids are doing their classes, and everybody gathers together at the post breakfast, at lunch at about 3 o'clock, and then the evening they are relaxing in the hotel as well.
Excellent, excellent. So that gives us a good idea of what is happening. Of course, you all know the animal, the Bleisure animal, right? So yeah, excellent. So it's almost a yo-yo. I came in from Mussoorie, dipped into the desert. Now I'm flying back to Dharamshala, to Utsa. Utsa, tell me, in the case of, Dharamshala has to have it all. In the case of Bleisure bookings, it may not be just the case of one couple or family. There could be groups or a lone wolf where the guest is single and yet plans and mixes his or her travel. What are your views? Does this happen? And if yes, how big are the groups? Or if he's a loner, do they even come in with their parents or their brothers and sisters, siblings? Give us a feel of these Bleisure groups.
Right. Thank you so much for the question, Mr. Khanna. I think it is always a mix of clientele that we have experienced at Hyatt Regency Dharamshala Resort. And I think in the past couple of years, the way our technology and the way we all work, that has evolved. And to cope up with this, the stress buster that we talk about, or the ever-changing work patterns, I think people are really, really excited that they are looking forward for this new concept of Bleisure. I would say new concept because I think it was always there, but people were not really exploring it, which they are doing it at this point of time. And I think it generally, it just combines a feeling of a vacation, whether you are alone or you are with your partner or whether you are with your family. And if you can still spend your own me time and you can still catch up with your work, I think that gives a sense of an achievement end of the day for everybody. Coming back to your other question in terms of us, that what we have experienced at Dharamshala is we see people group like 2 to 3 rooms. We would vary to 4 to 5 rooms also. Solo travelers, yes, a lot that we have seen in last 2 years, and we have also experienced a lot of couple. I think picking up from what CJ just mentioned or Anup was mentioning, we also had a lot of couple wherein both of them, they're doing their work from home or work from anywhere concept, what it has come up in last 2 years. So I think it's absolutely a mix of clientele, which is we are also looking forward for.
Tell me, Utsa, do they really work? I mean, being in Dharamshala or a Mussoorie, or a Jaipur or a Chandigarh or going to Amritsar, and leave Shubhendu out of that. Do they actually work, or do they pretend they're working?
Well, I would like to assume that they actually work, because if they're logging on to the calls and they have certain deadlines to meet, and of course, paying the bills for the hotel. So I would really assume that they are actually working. But as I mentioned, I think people have also, what I have experienced or what my team and myself, we have experienced here, I think people have also become a lot thoughtful and mindful about what they're eating, how are they rejuvenating themselves. So at a resort like us in Dharamshala, the kind of morning walk trails that we do, or the morning yoga meditation that we focus at, I think people really want to balance out their whole this work stress life in this way.
That is something which I actually wanted to ask. What percentage of these guests are actually into fitness and yoga, etc.?
No, I think a lot. I mean, a lot, which is what something really nice and really appreciating for all of us to understand that people, when they are traveling here, I think they have this whole connect that they want to do something in midst of the nature. They want that rejuvenation to happen. And when they know that, end of the day, most of the time that they are onto the calls and they're going to get stuck in their rooms, or even they're sitting outside at the balcony with a cup of coffee, or their meals are getting delivered. But the morning time and the evening time, they really want to enjoy for themselves and they want to explore, which is a great thing for all of us.
Very interesting. So I now take a cross flight from Dharamshala to my favorite city and perhaps one of India's more organized and newest city, Chandigarh. I have a lot of family there and I love being there on the road. After Delhi, of course, it is a treat to Ramandeep. Somebody who's done a lot of Marriott assets, and he's also been in Mussoorie. And he right now logs in from Goa. Is that a Bleisure visit or?
Oh, it's a pure leisure, Mr. Khanna. Well, I'm talking to you. It's a Bleisure.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, super. So tell me, what world-class leisure services must a hotel gear up for to be able to attract more business travelers? And do loyalty programs help support a Bleisure travel? And what are the gains for the guest and a hotel? Tell me, what are the actual demands that such stays call for in the pecking order 1, 2, 3, 4? I mean, after all, they're there, they're planning, they have to work, they have to enjoy, they have their working hours, they have off work hours. And how can a general manager really, without interfering, be part of the planning, or your team?
All right. So look, in my opinion, loyalty needs to be on top of our priority list. Since loyalty is all about recognition and its benefits, it helps, the guest in getting more value upgrades, savings, instant earn and burn, what we're doing currently from their stays. And to us, we all know that benefits of loyal guest is immense. Continuity of business out of their recommendations, tend to spend time more on hotel services, etc. And lesser cost of our customer acquisition. So guests are increasingly becoming aware and discerning with the growing domestic market, we as hoteliers, I think, need to be very, very much focused on localizing our service standards to cater to their needs, so to be very specific needs. And to my opinion, I think Bleisure guests require flexibility a lot. It could be, example, having a flexible breakfast timings, comfortable arrangement to work from the room, for example, having correct furniture for them in the room, etc., to support their long hours of work in their room, in the comfort of their room. Also, in terms of efficient and attentive service with extra attention to hygiene, these days, and of course, a very reliable Wi-Fi network. I think, in my opinion, these are some examples of what we probably all of us are doing, or what Bleisure guests look forward to whilst in the hotel.
So tell me, Raman, do these guests come in from around Chandigarh? Do they come in from local distances? Or are there also these Bleisure guests from within Chandigarh? जैसे कि यार छड्डो घर से क्या काम करना, यार JW Marriott में ही चेक इन करते हैं, सारे करते हैं, काम भी कर लेंगे और थोड़ा एंजॉय भी कर लेंगे. Do you have local guys also? And how many from around Chandigarh, say from they come in from Amritsar, or they come in from Ludhiana, Jalandhar, Delhi?
So I'll tell you, our source market for Bleisure guests are mostly Delhi. So about 80% Delhiites,
Okay.
who are just sick and tired of being in Delhi, being, maybe it's COVID or pollution or whatever you may call it. They just want to get out of the city, and and Chandigarh being the closest hit, a great accessibility, etc. So mostly 80% Delhiites, but we also have a chunk of guests coming in from Punjab. All over Punjab, people from Ludhiana, Amritsar, Jalandhar, all of these cities as well. So, yeah, not so much of local. Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised that Delhi contributes to about 80%
Yes.
of this travel.
Yes. Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And is the kitty growing?
Well, not so much now, Mr. Khanna. We saw a great deal, in such a segment, in the last about a year or so. With things are opening up now, and we've actually seen a little bit of drop in this segment. So yeah, it's interestingly sort of very, very versatile.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Raman. That was a very wholesome response. Yeah, and gives us a good idea. I shall take almost a 5 to 7 second break to introduce the next show. Salman. All right, here goes the next show. We are dipping into Rajasthan. The subject or the topic of the show is tourism in Rajasthan, challenges and opportunities for hospitality industry. Our wonderful set of panelists are Rajiv Kapoor, who's the general manager of the well-placed Fairmont in Jaipur, Nishant Agarwal, who's the general manager of the Leela Palace in Udaipur, Anand Singh Shekhawat, who's the general manager of the Amane Khas Ranthambore, and also the regional director of India for Aman, but also he has just been given charge of the entire South Asia region. Rishu Mattu, who's the general manager of the ITC Rajputana in Jaipur, Saji Joseph, who heads the Alila Fort Bishangar as its general manager, Rahul Meni, who's the general manager for the Jaipur Marriott Hotel. So log in day after tomorrow, Thursday, which is March the 17th at 5 p.m. and follow the proceedings. Thank you, Salman. All right. So from Chandigarh, I fly in back to JP with the second round that we just began with him. JP, tell me, what does an average Bleisure traveler look for while he chooses his hotel? And what should a hotelier do to attract more bleisure travelers? You know, you have a larger field, given that the larger territory that you handle. Tell us briefly about your territory as well, and give us a feel across.
Sure. Thank you. I'll just take it on from where Raman had left, about where is the source market and what's, happening in the various regions, because I've got, the state of Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, Uttarakhand, J&K. So if you look at all these hotels, we have a hotel where Utsa is. So there, the source market for me, like I said, when we talk about bleisure, rightly so pointed out by Raman, is that it's something which is not right up there to really matter as of now, because with the business coming back, the focus is a lot on things like the MICE is there, things like destination weddings happening, so on and so forth. So that's still the larger part of the business chunk, so to speak. But yes, the way the things are moving, and if we keep focus on millennials for that matter, I think things are going to change. I think these lines, as Chandrasekhar was saying, that they have been blurring for some time now, I think they're going to be completely blurred. It's something which is going to be kind of merging with each other, with a lot of technology that is going to come into our hotels. We cannot forget Internet of Things. That's going to make a difference, because the hotels are now supposed to be made for millennials. It's not a conventional kind of hotel anywhere. The spaces are such. They are seamlessly intermingling into each other. And if I have to point out the recent hotel, or instead the very first Radisson Red that we opened here in India, that happens to be in in Mohali, that happens to be in my region. That is one such hotel, which is an example of what a millennial would want. You enter the lobby and suddenly you are in a place called Social Hub. So you have a pool table there. You could be sipping a beer and having a coffee, and yet you're in the lobby, and the internet is fine. There is a huge screen in front of you, which is interactive with, the tweets are coming. Everything is happening. It's all in one place. So as we move forward, I think that is what is going to be defining, and this segment will take prominence in the times to come. Definitely, yes, there are no two ways about it, but immediately it is not going to be right up there. Source market is the second thing. If I talk about a place where the hills are, the major source market for them still is going to be, Punjab region, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Amritsar, and of course, Delhi NCR is going to be a secondary market. For a place like Amritsar, Delhi NCR is going to be a first market, and the others are going to be a primary market. And if you talk about the J&K side of things, then again, it's a mixed bag. So that's what I would like to comment before I move further. What is it that a bleisure traveler looks at? Now, there are a couple of things which are very important. Raman did mention clean, hygienic hotels, especially given the circumstances of COVID. Hygiene is right there, number one. And of course, even better and more important for the millennials is the high-speed, reliable internet with very nice, comfortable, seamless, casual kind of working spaces where they can do their work and yet be relaxed about it, because that's the priority for these people majorly. And what are the things that we can probably do to attract these people? We need to invest in technology. Today, it's the Internet of Things that's going to be, taking care of things. People do not want to go stand in a line for a check-in, do the entire jazz of a check-in process, and move. They want it to be snappy and quick. So we have to get into that. They don't want to physically go in the room and do a lot of things. They need to tell Alexa, please dim the lights. Alexa, please open the curtains, or reduce the temperature by 2 degrees. I think that's where things are going to move. And I think the future hotels are moving in that direction. So that's very important. Reliable, fast internet, something which is important. Then I think not only the business part, the leisure part, I think as a hotel, we'll need to really, really talk about and shout from the top of the roof that what is it that we offer you in terms of business and leisure. You need to really showcase your amenities. Advertise the things that are there around you. In the sense, if it's an Amritsar, I need to also talk about Jallianwala Bagh. I need to talk about, where is it that you can go? What is the kind of experience you will have? Or if there are some award-winning Michelin star restaurants around you, which has been, tested and tried, a little bit of what a concierge would do in a hotel. That's something we really need to talk about. Have very special kind of deals, for a business traveler who's looking for leisure, to make it leisure, have those deals in it. What is it that we can do? The hotels have to be creative, keeping in mind the source market from the business, where it is coming from, the demography of the people, whether it's a family, whether it's a children. So you need to really, kind of get into some kind of personalization, because that is also something which is very, very important for this sect of people. And we know that the business traveler would generally have a repeat stay. And that's where the loyalty comes in play, what Raman was talking about. And I think we really need to focus on that and look at, providing a loyalty wherein the business traveler is actually spending on leisure, kind of incentivize the person to spend on leisure. So it becomes more and more, the person tends to extend his stay, not just by 1 day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days. Amalgamation of all these things is what is required to be done to bring these people and attract them towards your property, attract them and tell them how is it that you are probably different than the competition. And at the same time, I think in the times to come, with the kind of business disruption that we follow, I think it will also make a sense that who are the right distribution channels for us? Who are the distribution channel partners that we should be to just target this particular segment? Because it's not going to be run of the mill that you use the conventional, distribution partners to sell stuff like this. So you really need to probably look at doing something like that in the future. So that's
very interesting. Very quite a wholesome response. That, I mean, when you come back and revisit your response, we get a great feel. But also, your Red was also the 100th hotel for Radisson Hotel Group. Is that right?
No, Red was not the 100th.
Which
we opened a hotel in Bhopal, that was the 100th.
Oh, okay. And also, if and when MICE opens up, I think that'll give a far better chance for Bleisure to develop.
You can say that. If one has to really talk about Bleisure in that sense, then I think it was from the MICE standpoint, it used to exist earlier also, and it was just known by the name of incentive. It was already there. It's not that it was not there. Like I said, the things are probably going to be the same, but millennials have a different way of putting it across. So that's the reason we are talking about it. And it'll definitely, change a little bit in its shape and form in the times to come.
Excellent. Thank you for such a wonderful response. Let me now fly back to my next door neighbor, Shuvendu. Busy Delhi. As a general manager, what is your brief when you see the Bleisure traveler? And how do you make a personal rapport that can make it worthwhile for both your hotel, your business, the guest, and the guest's family? And should it be any general manager's focus area, or do you see it just as another opportunity? Give us a feel from a general manager's management point of view.
The most important thing for all of us here, and in fact for the industry, is to understand the clientele first, the kind of people who are coming for business and leisure. It is the connect which we need to build as a hotel, and as the hotel team has to first of all build up the connect with the team, with the guest, to understand what are their requirements. How do we connect with them? What is their requirement? How do we adapt to what they're asking for and what is the requirement? And then based on that, we change our angle of the camera, and then we start catering to their requirements. That is the most important thing what we need to look at for business and leisure. First and foremost is, I think we need to own our guest. We need to understand the guest. We need to own the guest. We need to have in the front office as well as the senior leadership team of the hotel to understand the guest experience, what exactly the guest is looking for. I think that is the most important thing. One point of contact for the hotel when they're asking for something in the leisure, whether it's for front office or for F&B or something outside the hotel. One point of contact is very important. We also need to understand the guest itinerary. What do they want when they're in the hotel? When they're in the hotel, what's their working hours? Usually every business traveler, after their work, they have 3 to 4 hours for leisure. So what do they look at, and how do we customize is the most important thing, and how do we capitalize and look at Bleisure as an opportunity for all these guests. Then comes, I think, the business requirements. When they're checking into the hotel from pre-check-in, what exactly do they need? But like the other colleagues mentioned, I think most important is the internet connectivity, the technology, what they're looking at when they are in the hotel. That is the most important thing, because once they are in the hotel, their business purpose of the visit is business plus the leisure. So that has to be catered first. Understanding the profile, where they're coming from, what do they need for leisure. I think it is important that we understand what kind of a cuisine do they need, what kind of cultural events in and around the hotel, or maybe some food promotions happening in the hotel. How do we engage them within the hotel when they're in the hotel? I think wellness also plays a very important role when they are in the hotels? What kind of packages do we have in the hotel? How do we impact, how do we create those packages and moments for the guest as an experience? These are a couple of things. Then the in-house experience of the guests when they're in the hotel. For example, a cultural event happening in the hotel, or maybe you can say a massage in the spa, or maybe a shopping tour for the hotel, from the hotel to the shopping place. These are a couple of things which we need to look at. And to the next question, what you asked, the focus area for the general manager, I think we as a brand, Crown Plaza, stands for we are mostly business. We do what we do in business, but now we are adapting to business plus leisure to understand how do we change the gear and look at how do we cater to these requirements of these millennials as well as these leisure travelers.
Excellent. That's very interesting. Let me now take a flight back to Anup Pandey. Anup, what in your view are, I'm now going to talk hard-nosed revenue parts. After all, we are in the business of course, delivering well for the brand, right? But we also have to bother about the billing, right? The revenue part of it. Tell me, what in your view are the more sell opportunities when a plain Jane or say a vanilla business visit becomes a Bleisure visit? What are your opportunities for just billing for room? Because breakfast is going to be with the package.
Right.
What opportunities are?
So, great, we are moving towards more revenue aspect. So I feel, from a more sell perspective, let's understand for this segment, I personally feel we cannot be a hard sell. It's extremely important. We need to understand the trip persona of the guest, because with more experience laden properties like ours, it becomes a strategic move how we should not completely lose focus on the business perspective of the guest. At the end of the day, we also need to understand that the person who's there at the resort or hotel has to conduct business as well. So 2 points. I feel any hotel or resort who will be focusing on a lot of local experiences is something which can create a more sell opportunity. As we discussed, most of the panelists have agreed that this segment is driven by millennials, and they look for more experiential travel. For them, experience is something which define or demarcate a good and a great hotel. So a lot of focus on local experiences. Other thing which Utsa brought, during the discussion is around wellness. More and more reports we read these days. Let's accept and agree. Wellness is new luxury, and when we talk about wellness, it's not just regular, spa or a yoga session. I think it's much more. And what we are seeing, as CJ was mentioning, as the ticket size. In terms of our length of stay increasing, I think people are looking for more meaningful wellness experiences. So from a more sell perspective, Mr. Khanna, I would say that how a resort or hotel can add to local experiences and to wellness. I think those are something which we can look into, because rest our experiences, be it unique dining or anything which is to do with engaging guests over dining, I feel we all have done that enough. So local experiences and wellness to me.
Excellent. And very interesting. Yeah, you have to do it very subtly.
Exactly.
So, and a whole part of this, not just a lot of it, is actually pre-stitched when the guest actually books his travel and stay. Very interesting. Let me go back to Jaipur with CJ. CJ, tell me, do you throw in any goodies as added parts for a guest's family and group, like excursions, outings like trips to the market, tourism spots? You have a whole lot of them. And does this help and also help make a lasting connect and help the ticket and loyalty?
So I'm going to talk from my hotels or our brand's positioning, which is in luxury space, in true Indian luxury space.
You'll have to be a bit loud.
So I'm going to talk about, from my hotel's palace positioning, which is luxury and true Indian luxury. A customer is looking out for value proposition. I'm going to come to the value proposition. I don't think a price is that big an indicator or that big an issue, at least in that space. Just to give an example, I have a large inventory of private plunge pool rooms, 41 of them. They are the highest category available for general sale, and they get sold out first. Not my base category, the highest categories get sold out first. So the customer has the money and the propensity to pay, but they're looking at a value proposition. They are saying, what else can I get out of my dollar? So we at the luxury space recognize that, and the Leela Palaces have a palace programming, which includes a butler when you come in. It includes evening cocktails. It includes unlimited tea and coffee wherever that you want. We get your laundry done. We have a great evening local high tea experience. We have some discount on spa just to goad our customers to come down and use the other facilities as well. So this is the value proposition the customer is looking out for, and it is very well preferred and accepted by our customer base.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I mean, from your positioning in the luxury space, and also you're a little further away from the city.
Sure.
As a guest enters.
So, with what is happening around in the market over the last couple of years, it's not that we are getting customers to come to Jaipur for the first time.
Yeah.
People from our major source markets, Delhi NCR, Mumbai, it's their third, fourth, fifth visit to Jaipur, and they've done the forts and the palaces. So they are coming more to enjoy the resort, the palace, to enjoy the experiences that we offer on property. And of course, with the butlers there, the butler is making sure that the customer's itinerary is being sought out. So if there is any assistance that is needed for them to go to Amir Fort or go to the city for shopping, we help curate that as well.
All right. Thank you, CJ. Very interesting view again. Let me go back to Utsa. Utsa, do tier 2 or 4 locations actually benefit from Bleisure travelers, given that such travelers may go to metros or tier 2 at best, where their work takes them? Because Dharamshala is not where corporate offices are. So if somebody is going to come over there, they just want to get away from their place of work. So it's more a staycation.
True. I think, Mr. Khanna, this has got 2 parts to this particular question, if I want to answer it in that way. I think the first one would be that the majority of the people, what we have seen, that who are all are trying to adapt to this new normal, and work from home or work from anywhere concept is something which is definitely, they want to explore the destination which are in tier 2 to tier 4 cities, which are less crowded, which are unexplored, wherein they get to see a new place. And all thanks to this pandemic, I think the good news for all of us is that we all are trying to explore more in India. And I think that's something which is a great news for everybody here. And connecting to all.
I think she's gone into the refrigerator. She's frozen. The natural corollary of being in Dharamshala. She'll come back. Oh, there you are. Utsa, don't worry.
Am I there? Back?
No. Is it? Yeah, you're fine. Go along.
Okay.
You froze for a while, but that's fine. We understand you're in Dharamshala. Go along. All right. So somewhere we lost you. She's frozen again. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah. Utsa, go ahead. I think she has a problem there. So we'll come back to you, Utsa. Utsa, are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You're freezing in parts. Don't worry. Just relax. We're in the IoT age. Yeah, so we know how it happens. Don't worry. I've frozen so many times. My wife would have liked to do that with me. Statue. But then, yeah, okay. We'll come back to Utsa. So let me circle into you, Raman, with the next question. We'll go back to Utsa. Raman, tell me, staycations and Bleisure, is there a connection, and where do they separate or merge? Whatever be the case, what is your view?
Look, staycations and Bleisure merge when guests don't travel alone and are now with either spouse or family, the partners throughout the stay. Guests would typically check in over a Friday when they work throughout the day, and then from the evening of that day to the next day, they spend quality time with the family using hotel services, going around, etc. However, we have already sort of noticed a change recently, with the positivity around us. We, as I said earlier as well, with the reduced COVID cases and offices, schools reopening, the volume of Bleisure has witnessed a downward trend. However, staycation, a segment which grew significantly during the pandemic, is going to stay, and I strongly feel that. We as a nation, I think, have discovered the pleasure of these short breaks within the city, or a drivable distance. I think people have recognized sort of the value what travel brings it to them, and as a standard of our living, etc. As hotels, I think we all made changes to our offerings and services to attract this segment more and more, and we would need to keep evolving to stay relevant in this space. I think that's what I can think of.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I also think that this staycation business is here to stay. People are going to keep coming back.
Sure.
And also, I think it's more acceptable than it is not.
100%.
Yeah. I have one question for all of you, which has been there at the back of my mind. How many of you've all heard of Club Med, right? Club Med actually promotes, or the Club Med packages all inclusive. From the moment you reach the airport, it includes the flight, it includes the stay. Hi, Utsa, don't worry. We'll come back to you. Relax.
Sure, absolutely.
Right, don't worry at all.
Sure, thank you.
So tell me, they have a package which is all inclusive. It includes everything from your flight to your visa, to your arrival, to your transport to the hotel, and all that you do in the hotel. Your food, your stay, your booze, they are activity driven, right? So is there a case for that? That is for all of you. Let's spend 3 to 4 minutes on this between us. Let's discuss this. Yes or no? Is there a case for all inclusive?
Bhuvnesh, I think this is going to be location specific.
I'm talking location specific.
Yeah. If the market, if you start developing hotels in Lakshadweep, Andaman, it is but that the customers will buy it. But if you are trying to work out an all-inclusive hotel in cities like Jaipur or even destinations in Himachal Pradesh or Goa, there will be some resistance to it. Of course, there are takers for all kind of business, but it is my response is that it is going to be very location specific.
My point is from a Bleisure point of view, right? If you see a Bleisure traveler and he or she are there with family and they're there for a week,
I'm absolutely sure that if the customer is coming for Bleisure, an all-inclusive hotel package will work out, because they don't want to spend time thinking about what needs to be done, where they need to spend, and want to maximize both their business and leisure activity and not spend time on decide what to do.
So let me now go to JP, Raman, Anup, right, Shuvendu and Utsa.
Okay, Bhuvnesh, I'll come in here if that's okay. I think one thing which just CJ said, that it will be very location specific. I completely tend to agree with that. And I also feel, that it probably, all inclusive package and the example that you were taking from the Bleisure standpoint. I think it will be very niche, if you ask me, on a very high-end luxury kind of a property where people would probably go and do stuff like that, not for the regular hotel business that we are talking about. I think it may not really, you may not have too many takers for that in that segment per se. But yes, if you're talking about a niche segment, then probably yes. And in that case, I echo what CJ said, that people would not like to waste time on deciding what they need to do, because that's not the concern. Money is not the concern for them. So hence, it's going to be location specific, very, very niche. And to the best of my knowledge, I think it's going to be into the luxury space.
All right. Excellent. Raman?
So I also tend to agree with what the other two gentlemen said, and I feel that India as a market is a bit premature for this space, and if at all it has to happen, it will happen only in luxury space, which definitely has some potential for sure, but I think it may take time to evolve. As as we all know, it's only catching up in US, it's just coming up in US mostly, but I think as a market, India, we would have to wait for some more time to sort of.
So you were saying early days.
It's early days, yeah.
All right. So Utsa?
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're perfectly audible and you're not freezing.
Great. Thank you so much. No, I think I definitely agree with what my colleagues are mentioning, because we did try over here as well, especially targeting this Bleisure market and getting into this all-inclusive and all. However, we did not see much of response, even when people are at Bleisure. Of course, the breakfast and lunch are definitely in the resort, but then at that point of time, dinner, they want to keep it something either very simple, or they want to step out and they want to explore some local cafes and all, which are very, very close proximity. So I think definitely destination or location specific, and maybe we still have a more time or more opportunity to look at it in near future. But right now seems a little bleak at this point of time.
This seems more like a landslide opinion. Anup and Shubhendu?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think we need to curate a full ecosystem around it, because if we really have to have an all-inclusive package for a hotel or a resort, we need to see how we can blend a lot of experiential stuff, whether it is related to the local culture or around wellness. As we see most of these all-inclusive resort in Maldives, a destination like that, they have Michelin star chefs coming in. So probably, for our country, we have to develop this whole ecosystem where we have few, food pop-ups happening, where we can really meaningfully engage guests if they are with us for 3 to 4 days, and how we can bring outside inside the resort. I think that's where we have to build an ecosystem, and that will make probably this proposition a successful one.
All right. So I'll now go back to Shubhendu before I close.
I would say I would agree to a lot of points what the colleagues mentioned. I think yet to see this kind of a trend coming for all inclusive. Reason being, for example, Crown Plaza Delhi is being more of a business hotel, and the business travelers, when they come into the hotel, probably their length of stay in last 1 or 2 days, they decide on their extension. So it depends on case to case basis. I think it's yet to say that, yeah, we do not have that kind of a trend that we can say that all inclusive works. But yeah, it's at a very nascent stage. Probably moving forward, we'll have a better clarity how to go about it, and then maybe create some packages, because the international travels are now opening. So hopefully the business travels picks up. So let us.
Good. That's a very clear no. It's early days. Let's wait. Let us see. Or is it a case of who bites the bullet first, right? So let somebody start, and then वो हिंदुस्तान में तो ट्रेंड होता है ना, एक ने शुरू किया तो सारे लग गए. So let's see. Very interesting debate we've had. Very good session. And excellent views coming from all across. We had Delhi, we had Amritsar, we had Chandigarh, and then we had the desert and the hills, right? So good view, very interesting session. We shall have you come back. Thank you for being there, Utsa. Raman, all the way from Goa during your vacation. Good you spared time for us. I'm obliged.
Thankfully, I was carrying my white shirt.
Great. So that's, I mean, a general manager coming in without a jacket and a tie is something they can't even imagine life without a tie. So thank you, JP. Been a pleasure being with you on the show. CJ, Anu, Shuvendu. Before I go away, let me once again introduce our next show day after, Thursday, the 17th of March, 5 p.m. We are now going to be only talking Rajasthan in that show. Tourism in Rajasthan, challenges and opportunities for the hospitality industry. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Such a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Same
Thank
here.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.